So the other day, I was scrolling online and I saw somebody talking about how you can now use Canva's AI Code for You feature to turn your paid products into incredible interactive customer experiences. And based on the reel I saw, it was incredible. And so I immediately started playing around with it and wanting to see how I could turn one of my paid products into an interactive experience. I want to tell you, number one, it was awesome. Like, it was really cool how you could take a few lines of like a chat GPT prompt, basically, and what Canva could turn it into. Like, of course, it's beautiful because we know we love Canva. However, having used ChatGPT quite extensively and understanding how websites work and business works, I do see some significant limitations and don't know that I'll be using it to kind of recreate my paid products anytime soon. So let's dive in. Let me show you a little bit more about how Code for You with Canva works, and also kind of show you some examples and take you through the different steps I took trying and testing this out with my own paid product, where I saw the pros and where I saw some of the cons so that you can kind of see for yourself and decide what you may want to use it for. So without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, so first, I just want to show you a quick example of what exactly Code for You, this new Canva AI feature is, right? So the concept is if you've ever used any type of AI or ChatGPT, Claude, anything like that, the idea is you feed it a text prompt. You can even feed it a voice to text prompt, and you can tell it something like create a modern, build your own order interactive menu without images. Start with an example for Bella Cuisine featuring appetizers at this price point, pastas at this price point with protein add ons, and desserts at this price point. Use clean typography and color coding instead of photos for a sophisticated look. Do not include place order or other non-functional buttons. As a follow-up, ask me about my restaurant name slash concept, food categories and customization options, base items and add-ons with prices, special options, spice levels, things like that. So again, this comes down to giving it a good prompt, telling it exactly what you want and telling it the types of questions to ask you so that it can get better information. This is the same thing you would want to do in something like ChatGPT. So the Canva AI or Canva code here will respond. And not only did it respond with a text prompt, it immediately gave me a button here for version 1. And this is what it has coded for me, right? It has taken this prompt and it has turned it into exactly that, an interactive menu. I can click on several different categories here. I could add something to the order and you'll see it populate down here. I can even add chicken to the spaghetti pomodori, and that add-on in price is added here. Now, if I wanted to, I could use this in a design, right? I could say use in a design, and it will turn it into a normal, as you would call it, normal Canva design that you're probably used to working with if you design in Instagram graphics or YouTube thumbnails or posters, flyers, anything like that. And you can preview it and even publish it as a website. So this could truly be interactive. You could send this as a link to your clients, to your restaurant goers, whatever it may be, and they could use this. Now, you may be going, well, where does this information go? How do people place orders? That's a whole nother question. Um, and that's what I'm talking about with some of the limitations here. So let me go back and let me take you through the example of what I did here in Canva. So first, in order to get to Canva AI, you want to make sure this is clicked. You will come into this box here, and then you'll need to make sure that you click on this button, Code for Me. Now, something I want to show you that's a little tricky here. I'm going to go ahead and unselect Code for Me. Now, if I click on the menu here, this side menu opens up and you'll see it just shows new chat. It shows there's no chat history here. As soon as I click on this Code for Me button, you'll now see that I have prior chat history. So your chat history will be very specific to Code for Me, like to if this Code for Me button has been checked. So your chat history here is going to be very specific, right? If I don't have this checked, I'm not going to see this chat history. So let me take you through the example where I tried to turn my pre-launch playbook. Well, it's currently named a pre-launch checklist. It's being renamed pre-launch playbook. Let me go ahead and take you through the example of how I tried to turn it into an interactive customer experience. So, with this playbook, if it's going to be named the playbook, I queued up the chat and I told it, I'm going to provide you with a link to the document. It has several sections. It is a pre launch playbook. I would like you to turn the text of this document into an interactive playbook where people can click to get different sections, where it almost looks like a course where people can keep track of where they are at and click to view different sections and mark off different items as they create them. I want you to use only the information provided in this document. I want you to follow the exact layout. I want you to use the exact sections and wording provided to create this interactive guide. Do not add any information. Do not make up any information. Do not add any text. Do not create new sections. I want you to basically take the text from this guide and turn it into something interactive. So I wanted to be very specific. I did not want it to make up anything fictitious. I wanted it to stick to just the information I was providing it, and I gave it a link to a Google Doc. So it asked me a few questions, and it said, I will go ahead and create this. And it said, can you share the text with me directly? Do you want users to be able to save their progress? And do you have color preferences? I said, there's too much text for me to share at once. Can I share it in segments? Now, full disclosure, I did play around with it just ever so slightly before I did this trial of it. That's how I knew to say things like, don't make up information, only stick to this information and these sections that I provided you. Because when I gave it less information or less instruction than that, it would take the information I provided and it would reorganize it and it would put it into new sections and it would add things that I didn't want to be there. So I wanted to make it very clear that I only wanted it to use the information provided, not add anything to it or not really put its own flair on the knowledge or content I was providing. So I had also figured out that there was a limit to the amount of text that I could provide. I couldn't do an entire section of the playbook. I needed to break each section down in order to not exceed the character limit of the text box here. So they said, great approach. I'll create an interactive playbook framework first, then we can populate it with the contents as you share the segments. Let's start with the first segment. And so I then responded by answering those other previous questions saying, yes, I want people to share save their progress. I gave it my brand fonts and colors. And then I gave it some additional information about what it was called, the title of the sections, that I want there to be a ready and a welcome and a ready to launch section before and after those bulk content sections. And then I said, before I start even giving you the content, I want to make sure this makes sense. So then it reiterated everything I shared, and it actually started to code the playbook for me. So when I click on version 1, you can see here, this was the shell that it provided me just based on those initial instructions. So this is exactly what you can see. There are buttons. They do navigate back and forth to the different sections. I have all the sections built out exactly as I had them in my Google Docs version of this playbook. So far, this was looking great. And I said, so far, this is looking great. Here's content for the welcome section. And so I started to feed it information for the welcome page. It said, great, I've built that in. Now we have version 2. Now, one thing to note is that every time I fed it information, this wasn't instant, right? If you've ever worked with ChatGPT, you know that you watch as the ChatGPT or the AI responds, right? Like you're seeing the words and the letters and the sentences form on the screen before you. Now, this is very similar with Canva's AI Code for You feature. However, when you are waiting for it to say code 800 to 1,000 words of code, I did time it once, and I want to say it took about 10 minutes. So you do need to be mindful that as it was doing this, it was taking, initially it might not be 1,000 lines of code. Maybe it started off at 500 and then it grew. Don't quote me on that. But I know at one point it was about 1,000 lines of code and it took about 10 minutes. Granted, still far faster than myself who can't code a darn thing. But just be aware, it does take a little bit of time for it to code each time it is processing and providing you with a new version. So a few minutes later, I had this version and I was able to see that here, it put this welcome section together for me, right? The start section still blank, everything else, but it is filled in the welcome section. I said, this is a great start, but I want to make some revisions, right? I didn't love how everything seemed very like separated. We had blue up top with this bar. We had gray down here. The font was bigger here. There was just a lot going on. And so I gave it some instructions to that effect. And it said, okay, I will simplify things. I will, make sure it's not too segmented with different background colors. Let me create a cleaner, more unified layout. So now I waited several minutes. It coded this entire piece for me, and now we are at version 3. So version 3, I liked a lot better. Welcome. There's no blue background, just a small accent line here. Everything looks a little more fluid. The font is all the same size. It's all lined to the left. I mean, it looks just more cohesive to me. As I told it, this looks great. So I said, now let me go ahead and start feeding you with the information for the sales page, right? I was just going to work my way down the playbook. So I said, please do not start coding until you have all 3 parts, right? Because I was picking up on the fact that it was going to take, several minutes here, several minutes here. And I didn't want it partially coding, the sales page if it was going to take me 3 or 4 different sections to provide all of the parts. So I fed it the first piece of information until I hit the character limit. It said, great, thanks. I'll wait for the remaining 2 parts before implementing that. Once I have all 3, I'll integrate them into the playbook. So again, I fed it the next section. It provided me with a similar response and just reiterated, great, I have this from you. I will continue to wait. I fed it part 3 of the sales page. And I said, actually, I told it in the beginning, this is the final part of the sales page. So it knew this was the final part. It was supposed to start coding. So again, this is where I was probably starting to wait closer to like 8-10 minutes each time it was coding. But it did provide me here with version 4, which again, my welcome page is untouched. I can say start the playbook. And now you have the sales page here. And I can check off each item as we go. I have tasks here that will show that they're completed. So I have a progress bar. This was looking great. As I told it, this was looking great. Now I'm going to give you information for the next section. I would already kind of predetermine how many sections I would have to feed it based on the character limit. And so I told it it's going to be 4 parts, and I started feeding it the parts. Again, the same thing transpired. I fed it a section. It told me it understood. I fed it a section. It told me it understood. I fed it a 3rd section. It, again, told me it understood and was waiting for the final section. And then I fed it the final section. I waited about 10 minutes and it coded version 5. Okay, now pay attention to version 5. Okay, so version 5 was looking great, right? The application page, everything was looking aligned. It had even kind of done a wonderful call out here to my pro tips that were being added. So those were separated from my action steps. I mean, I was really loving the way this was coming together. I was excited. I think I was even voice noting a friend, telling her how stoked I was about this. And she's an instructional design expert. So she was even loving this and the implications that it had that she could apply to kind of her job and that she could use with her students and share with her students. And so I thought, okay, great. Like this completely understands, this Canva code understands the process here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed it the checkout page. So again, same process. I fed it the multiple sections of the checkout page content here. And I said, I had told it actually, let me go back here. So let me go back a section here. I told it, I said, I'm going to do all of the checkout section. And then I said, okay, so I had to feed it 4 parts. And so right before I fed it the 4th part, I said, thank you. Next, I'll share part 4. Please do not start coding. I want to share more content before you start coding. So I shared the 4th part of the checkout page. It said it understood. It said, I understand you want me to wait before implementing this section as you have more content to share. I'll be holding off on coding until you've provided all the content. The checkout page is now complete with 10 key points and their corresponding action steps. Let me know when you're ready to start implementing this section of the playbook or if you have additional contents for other sections. I said, great. We are done with the content for the checkout page section. I'm confirming. I said, I'd like to share the content for the post-purchase section next, right? My thought was if I didn't have to wait 10 minutes for it to code just the checkout page, for me to then feed in another several sections of the post purchase page, to then wait for it to code, I thought it understands. Let me just feed it all of the different parts and then tell it to code these last three, the checkout page, the post purchase section, not even page, yeah, the checkout page section, the post purchase page section, and the ready to launch section. It can just code everything at once following the same structure. So I said, great, we're done with the checkout page. I will now share content for the post-purchase section. Again, I'm going to, it's too much to share at once. I'll share it in 3 sections. I share the first section. It says, great, thanks for sharing that first section. I'll wait for the remaining 2 parts before implementing the section of the playbook. So again, under the impression that this completely is understanding and following along, I fed it the other 2 sections of the post-purchase page, to which it understood both times. And I said, and I even said, but please don't start coding yet, right? Once I got to that last section of the post-purchase page, I said, please don't start coding. I'm going to, again, share more content with you. So it says, thanks for sharing part 3 of the post-purchase section. I understand you want me to wait before implementing this. I'll hold off on coding. This is now complete with the 5 key points. Let me know when you're ready to start with the next, to either implement these or if you want to add more content. So it's leading me to believe that it understands so far that it has content for both of these sections, separate sections, and that it's waiting to code them. I said, great. Next, I'm going to share the content for the ready to launch section. After that, you can proceed with implementing the checkout page, post-purchase, and ready to launch sections, right? I thought we were going to be great. I'm going to feed it this last bit of information, and it's going to follow suit. The checkout page, post-purchase page, and ready to launch page are going to look fabulous, and I can relaunch this, and I was so stoked. So I pressed the button, got a snack because, again, I knew it was going to take about 10 plus minutes. And when I came back, this is what I saw. So there's nothing. There's a checkout page. That's it. All my buttons stopped working. You can't navigate anymore. So I have the checkout page. The checkout page looks fantastic. It falls in line with everything. However, no buttons work. And so when I say this is great, however, none of the buttons work anymore. This section in the Your Progress box at the top left should allow people to click on them so they can easily switch between sections. The previous button at the bottom of each section should navigate people to the previous section. And the next button should, navigate people to the next section. I'd also like to add a search function in the playbook so people can search for a certain keyword or topic. It said, okay, I'll fix the buttons and add a search function. Now all of your navigation buttons will work perfectly. You can click on any section in the progress bar. The previous and next buttons will work. I've also added a search function. When you search for a term, and it kind of, told me how it would work. And so here was what it gave me. If your jaw is hitting the floor, mine did too. I have no idea what happened, no idea how it took this bit of instructions telling the buttons to work, and how it appeared to understand that the buttons need to work and that it just simply needs to add a search function, and how it turned it into this. It turned it into a product management playbook, and all of a sudden there's projects. My playbook has nothing to do with this. It has nothing to do with product strategy, nothing to do with product road mapping, nothing to do with, product discovery and qualitative research. No, definitely, absolutely not. And I basically told it, no, this is terrible. And I said, please go back to version 5, right? Because in my head, I said, hey, version 5 was fantastic, right? In fact, I even on my own accord went all the way back here to version 5 and was like, well, how do we implement this? Because on ChatGPT, you can, let's say it goes rogue a little, you can go back up into the chat and edit a previous prompt that you gave it. And it will start kind of a whole other line of conversation with you, and you can get it back on track. So I was hoping that would be the case here. So I went back to version 5. I hit reset, this resets, but I can't really do anything with it. And I said, great, let's use it in a design. Like, let's go ahead. Like, maybe if I use it in a design, I will be able to edit it. So I go ahead and I click use it in a design and it applies it here. And it says I can double click to interact with it as though it were a website. But again, it's that partial version at version 5. It didn't have all the additional content in it. And there's no way to edit it. I'm right clicking, nothing's happening. There's no way for me to like edit the code, if you will. Editing up here is more just you're either editing, commenting, or viewing this item. There is just, and I even kind of looked as far as I've looked. And again, I spent a little bit of time diving in, looking at some of the help articles, and it does not appear that there's a way that once you've taken a design or something coded by Canva and you've put it here, and used it in a design, and let's say you've published a website, there's no way to make an edit, right? So the only way to kind of continue or interact or get any kind of changes is to come back here to your chat. So let's go back to where I was. And I said, no, this is terrible. Like, please go back to version 5, hoping that it would immediately just recode the version 5. Unfortunately, this is version 8. Even though it said I'll revert back to version 5 of your product management playbook. Again, I never once called this a product management playbook. That is not any of the information that I provided to it. And somewhere it went completely rogue, picked up wrong information, and now I was completely unable to get it back on track. And I said, go back to the old version 5 without the search function or any changes we've made since. It said, I'll create the original version 5, again, of your product management playbook without the search functionality. And I could see as it was coding it, I could see in the code the words product management playbook. I knew it was not coding what I wanted it to code. And yet I also couldn't stop it. So the one thing with ChatGPT is that even if it's in the middle of providing you an answer, you can stop the AI, right? You can stop. You can say, oh, shoot, like a couple times I've said, hey, can you take a look at this and provide some feedback? And I've forgotten to actually paste in the content. Or I can tell that, like, I don't love what it's giving me, and I'll stop and I will be like, I should have given it more prompting or more details, more parameters. In this case, there was nothing I could do. I had to wait for it to code for 10, 15 minutes for me to then tell it, wait, let's go back to the old version 5. And immediately I could see it coding it completely incorrectly. And again, no way to stop it. And there's no way to go back. I have completely lost everything I started. I've lost version 5. I can't use it in a design. And so that's where, to me, I find as beautiful as Canva Code can make things, I find there to be a significant limitation in the fact that there is no way to easily make a small change in a design, right? If I was to, let's say, even launch this product management playbook and you were a paying client and you either found an error or let's say new regulations came out that I thought would be important to add to this playbook, I have to hope that I can give it a precise enough prompt and feed it so specifically that I can say, okay, I want to add just this bit of information, just to this page, just to this section, and hope that it does it. And then it doesn't completely change the layout. It doesn't change something dramatically that I don't want changed, right? Because let's say this was a paid product and I went to make an update and now all of a sudden my pre-launch playbook became a product management playbook, right? And now I'm not able to make a change. And I mean, I'm stuck. That version is the version that has to live forever. Those people can never get an upgrade. I can never correct something. I can never change anything, or I have to completely recode it and start from the beginning, hope it codes it to something similar and say, hey, everyone, sorry, this is like the new version you have to work with. So while I do think that Canva Code makes it beautiful, I think it might be fantastic for freebies, things that are very like limited in the content they're providing, things that you're not anticipating having to change, even something like an interactive menu. If you change a price, you want to add an appetizer, right? I mean, you're kind of flirting with danger there that it's going to do it correctly. And if something goes wrong, you have to redo your entire menu from scratch. So I would say small things, things you're not having to anticipate or you're not anticipating having to change much. Again, free because then hopefully it's something people haven't paid for and wouldn't be too upset if it was one day not available. Um, and like I said, it's probably something that has a smaller amount of content. So you're not having to worry that there might be an error or an update needing to be made. Um, Now, as I mentioned, some of those cautionary pieces are just as kind of a recap is that you once you've designed it or use it in design, there's really no way to edit it. There's no way to really stop the AI or Canva code from coding. So even if you can tell or you forgot to give it a prompt or you were like, oh, shoot, I gave it the wrong information, you have to wait till it's done coding and then hope you can reprompt it back to where it will line up with where you previously were, or with your previous design. I hope you found this helpful. I hope this gave you a lot more information about what exactly code for you or code with Canva is, and some of the pros, some of the cons, some of the things to be aware of before you dive in. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions, please drop them below. Make sure you're following me on Instagram or Facebook and that you've subscribed to this YouTube channel for more. My name is Lauren Evans. I am your tech and automation expert for online businesses, and I will be back soon with more helpful tech and automation information.